Good morning, it's Monday, January 23rd. This is Hayes from CheatSheetPros.com. We are going to look back at the PrizePicks yesterday. As always, I'm doing as many videos as possible to look back and kind of see what's working to help you guys have a place to start off when you're looking at your PrizePicks. And we're also going to look at some daily fantasy results from yesterday over here. So typically what I do, if you haven't seen one of these videos before, is I drop in the actual results and I put in the value. I kicked out the showdown slate just because you have players that are $200 or $300 or $1,000, and that just gives them a crazy value. So I want to look at apples to apples. And then over here on our PrizePicks tab, over here, I pop in these two columns here. This is the actual result. Oh, I didn't put that in there. Result from the game last night, and then this is the PM update. So as always, our cheat sheets for the NBA, they're posted in the morning, usually between 8:30 and 9:30 a.m., just kind of depending on how quick I can get my kids out the door and how busy my work day starts off. And then we have the results of if it went over or under. So I've set this up to where I can easily go back in and see the results from yesterday and then take a look at it. And if you've never seen these sheets before, we also have the last 10 game logs for the particular stat over here. Green is over, red is under, makes it simple. So when you're looking at PrizePicks, there's a few different things you can sort by. We have our cheat line, so you can see the difference between our cheat line versus the actual PrizePick line. And then if it's more or less than 2 points, it just pops up a little over or under just to help some people out. We also have a confidence percentage that we've been tinkering with. I haven't changed it for about a week though. It's been pretty decent. And then for raw projections that you guys like, I do not like projections, but we have Fantasy Pros, and then we have the Roto projections, and we have the difference between the PrizePick line as well as the percentage. And then we have our last 7-day rolling average, so we can see the people that are hot or not. And then someone wanted to bring in the average of the Fantasy Pro versus RotoWire projections and just average them out. So we've got that as well that we'll look at. And then these are streaks. So these are how many times the player's been over in a row. Once they get to 5, they start to highlight this little gold color, and then it goes up. And then we have a last 5 hit rate and a last 10 hit rate. So typically the updated sheet comes out about 4:30 Central Time. So this is about an hour and a half before lock. I live in the Midwest around the Kansas City area, so that's the time that I run off of. So let's go ahead and take a look at yesterday. So over here, I'm going to start at the cheat line. We're just going to work our way across. So as always, we got the cheat line. We're going to look at the gap difference between them. Let me slide this back over here. And if you're curious, this column over here that I'm closing, it just helps me pull them because it has player name and then what the stat is. It just makes my job a whole lot easier when building the sheet. So over here, you can see, I'm just glancing at this column right here. So the cheat gap sorted highest to lowest, did really well. So we've got 3, 4, so 8 of the top 8 all hit. And then, you know, I kind of glance down here and say, okay, we did really good on the top end. That's like a 12-1 run. Had a few unders, and then all of a sudden it took off again. So far the cheat gap yesterday, this is what we're looking at for the top end of plays. You see a lot of overs, a couple of unders, and typically when you find an under, it's one player. Like here we can see Steph, when he went under on points, rebounds, also he's going to go under on points, and he's going to go under on fantasy score, but really not off by that much. So I want to look at the unders and see, you know, did we completely whiff this? Did we barely miss it? What happened? So here, points and rebounds, you can see the PrizePick was 32.5. He ended at 32, so missed it by a half. Points, 26.5. He ended with 26. Fantasy score, 44.5. Ended with 41.7. So really not that bad. You weren't that upset. And then Dort, that's a complete whiff there. 18.5 points and rebounds. Ended with 10, which he's got a lot of variance to him. Dort was another one over here. Jaren Jackson, fantasy score went under. But all those, look, Van Vliet finally got back on top. We rode him for quite a while. Van Vliet and Kyrie were two plays that I really liked yesterday, and pretty much anywhere you went, they went over. Fantasy score, once again, Kyrie flew over. Last couple of games, he's really been taking over. But anyways, let's look at confidence percentage, moving on down the list here. Now, what I liked about this is the confidence percentage on the top end of plays. When you got to... So what's this? 86% and up, they went 6-0. And then even, you know, these plays 72% and better. What's that? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 and 2. So that's pretty good. And then it had a chunk of unders and then a chunk of overs again. So I'm really kind of looking at these top half of plays and then kind of what this first sheet looks like to get an idea. So far, the cheat line and the confidence have been pretty good most days. We do have some days where it just completely whiffs. So let's look at the raw projection for pros, roto. We'll look at the average, and then the last 7 day, then we'll look at the hit streak. So looking at the fantasy pros yesterday, looking at the difference, it did really well. Look at all that green overs. So massive day there for fantasy pros. It jumped back ahead after RotoWire was ahead a couple of days. RotoWire projections, not quite as good, but decent. Up on the top end, 2 and 3 in the top 5, and then it had a pretty good streak here of overs that really kind of climbed it up, and another streak here. So overall, it did decent. The average of the two, typically if one does well, this one's going to do well. Pretty decent over the top, you know, about 65%. So not bad. Last 7 day average, which I love to find the players that are hot and digging in there. It absolutely crushed it. You can see here the top, I don't even know, what is that, 11? Top 11 plays went 11-0. And then 15-1 on the top 16 plays, so that continued to be good. So far yesterday, the cheat line, the confidence percentage, and the last 7 day average were the hottest ones. And typically, if you get one of these, I mean, you can crush it just by picking up the top plays on there. Looking at the streaks, let's take a look at those. So over here, we had 7, 6, a 5, a string of 4s, and then it kind of went down from there. So let's look at 4 up and see what it did. So streaks of 4 or more went, they won all except for one loss. So what's that? 12-1, 13-1, somewhere around there. The one loss was Lillard fantasy score, dropped it by about 4 points. So not too bad overall. And then you can see down here, even picked up some more wins. Last 5 hit percentage, 80% and up. Oh, let's see, 80% goes way down here. Okay, so there's a lot of those. So on the top end, really good, and then it kind of evened out down here. So I'm going to say last 5 hit rate was about 50-50. But the higher ones did pretty decent. The last 10 hit rate, let's take a look at that. That one completely whiffed. So this is one thing that I do want to point out. Last 10 hit rate has been red hot. But here we had a game yesterday. What is that? Sorry, there's something beeping outside. But this is a complete whiff. So this is what I'm looking at here. So right here we can see on the top, the last 10 hit rate. These players that have been hot completely whiffed and went under. Now, you have Klay Thompson, you have Jordan Poole. That was 6 of them. 7, 8, 9. Okay, so that's 9 of these top plays here. But Steph Curry's back playing more minutes. So that's kind of, you could have seen that coming if you didn't go at it blindly. So that's kind of what this looks like. So again, the cheat gap, the last 7 day average confidence percentage ended up being really well. So if you're going in it blind, I would just look at confidence percentage, kind of look at these top few plays on here, anything 90 over, start from there and kind of dig in. So overall, the Prize Pick tab's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoy it. I do not play on Prize Picks quite a lot because I have access to DraftKings and the same game parlays. So I think that's better odds, better lines, but I know there are a ton of people out there that play on Prize Picks, so I want you guys to use this, have fun with it, play with it. I'm going to do my best to keep reporting back and kind of let you know what I like, what I see. When I go out and I pick up my plays for the day, I try to look at Prize Picks first to put those out because I know that's what the majority of you guys are playing. But again, the sheets are here for you guys to utilize, play with. Find a process and roll with it. Even if you look at Prize Picks in the morning and you pick out 7 or 8 different plays, compare them to the sheet. You know, what do the projections look like for Fantasy Pros, for RotoWire? What's the last 7 day average? Look at the game logs, who they played. If you are playing same game parlays, I love it. That is my absolute passion right now. I'm completely addicted to them. This prop tab is key. You can see all of the game logs, what they've done, who they've played. And I mean, I spend all my time on this tab right here. This is the main thing that I use. Let's flip over here and look at some daily fantasy results. Over here, so what we're always comparing is the boom percentage versus the GPP algo. Now, the boom percentage, what we run into a lot of times is we have some low-minute players here. So these are good GPP plays. They may crap the bed, but they may explode but they don't get a lot of minutes, so there's a lot of variance up and down. So our boom percentage yesterday's, you can see there's some lower minutes here, 19, 19, 18, 21. This weekend, I may pull in the Fantasy Pros minute projections because I've noticed a big gap between them and Roto. But over here on the boom percentage, you can see that 5 of the top 7 we did really well. 5.2, 7, 6.6, 6.7, 6.2, 6.1x. So really good plays. The one that did miss up here, 1.9, he was averaging 21.5 minutes per game. And then over here, the top guy was only averaging 19.3 minutes a game, projected at 28. Obviously, probably didn't get there, so something to keep in mind when you are playing GPPs. Another miss down here that didn't do well. Again, he's projected at 19 minutes, averaging 19 minutes. He doesn't really get a lot of time on the floor. GPP algo, what that's going to do, that's going to eliminate those lower minute players. So there's an extra weight applied to the players that are playing 25 plus, 30, 35 plus minutes, averaging it and shooting it up. And so you can see the GPP algo, it did really well yesterday. So we had, the top 3, 6.2, 6.1, 6.7x, and then 5.8x. And then we had a couple kind of just below average with Lillard and Simmons. That's fine. Jalen Williams, he missed. He didn't quite get there at 3.4. LeBron made it. Poole slightly under, but Curry was back. Bain 6.2. So over the top, what's that, 10, 12? So pretty decent, not too bad. And then I'm going to call this the cheat pool. I don't know what else to call it. I can't think of a good name for it, but we've talked about this quite a bit. If you want to be a little bit different than normal projections and narrow down your player pool when you're looking for core players, we're going to come over here. We're going to look at the last 5 fantasy point per minute times the raw minute projections. We're going to sort this by value, high to low. This is going to give us a pool of players that's going to be completely different than your normal projections. Now, if you just look at that raw before we do any filters on it, you can see we had some misses up here, which you can see these 4 guys, they don't play a lot of minutes. And then it went on a tear and did pretty good. So 2 of the filters that I recommend applying if you're playing DFS is go to your minutes, number filters, greater than, equal to, 24. 24, 25, anywhere in there is fine. And then I like taking the last 5 fantasy point per minute. Lots of players that miss are below the 0.95 to 0.99, so I'm going to go greater than 0.99. And then we are going to make sure this is still sorted high to low. Now we're going to go take a look at these players. Now, one of the things you can look at is the change and make sure there's not a huge negative in here. Like here, you can see Curry's down 12%, Biyombo 4%, but other than that, everybody else is pretty decent, and it's going to give them a big number. And one of the things that it's doing is it's taking this, so like let's say Jamal Murray, for example, he's averaging 1.04 fantasy points per minute on the season, but over the last 5 games, he's at 1.3 for a 26% increase. So that's someone that you may want to take a look at. Those are how we are going to narrow down some core plays. Now to come over here and take a look at how they did, let me screenshot this so I can draw on it and make it easier for you. This snipe tool's amazing. All right, so we are going to go, actually, this is all we need right here. So we've got this sorted. So we are going to, let me blow this up a little bit, make it easier for you guys to see. Okay, actually, hang on, let me get the minutes in there too. That was one thing that jumped out on me. All right, now we are going to blow this up. We're going to take a look at these minute projections. Let me get it nice and big so you can see that there on your screen. All right, so the Jamal Murray, we just talked about him, 6.7x. That's a good play there. He was even a diamond play, so that's even better. And then we hit. So we crushed this top section of players. Lillard, 4.9. That's kind of right at that 5 threshold. So not great, not terrible. So these 4 guys up top I want to look at. These are the ones that missed. So why did they miss? Look at the minutes over the last 3. They're averaging 19, 21, 22, and 23 minutes. So they fall below our threshold, but they were suddenly projected to just barely go over our 24, 25 minute threshold. Players that are projected to jump that much usually do not get that many minutes. The majority of the time that I go back and I look, they didn't play that. They played closer to what their average 3 was. So keep that in mind if you get these low-minute players. These are high-risk GPP options. And just look at the names like Cameron Johnson. Do you see him throwing up an 8x game? No, probably not. Biombo, he's probably not going to throw an 8x game. He could. But then you get down here to these guys that are projected for 30 plus minutes, and they are also averaging more than that. Now you had one here in Steven Adams. We kind of know he's that 25, 26, 28 minute guy. That's fine. He ended up being a diamond play. He did 6.6x. So then what I would do is this group, let me get rid of that. This group right here is kind of where I would start looking at and narrowing down and say, okay, I want to pick 3 to 5 of these for a core, depending on what you do. You could look at the diamond plays, so that would have put you on Jamal Murray, Steven Adams, 6.7, 6.6x, build around them, that's fine. And then just kind of look at the other guys. Claxton has absolutely been on fire. If you follow me on Twitter, I've been posting all of his block. I mean, he's 3 or 4 blocks a game, and that's huge on PrizePicks. Kyrie without Durant didn't really do much, and then after all the talk, he's blown up the last couple of games and put up some big games. So looking at this, you could have went Kyrie, Claxton, Adams, Jamal, built around that, locked those 4 in, and then ran a bunch of lineups and done pretty decent. But again, it's easy to look back after you see the results, but I'm just telling you kind of what you would do if you're looking at. Now, these players down here, they're still projected really well, but then these are the ones that are a little bit more risky, and you can see that over here. We wrote limited upside. That's usually players with a negative fantasy point per minute projection, or they haven't hit any 6x, 7x games. They're really not great for GPP. And you can see, look at it. So we have a lot of lower results, and even the ones that did well, LeBron 5.4, Shy 5.3, 5.6. They're decent cash game plays, but they're not good GPP plays. So we kind of want to find this sweet spot in here in our cheat pool and dig out some of those players, kind of run with it. That's what I would do. So anyways, I just wanted to give you a quick recap. Mondays are typically busy for me, but I'm getting a slow start to the day and really wanted to look at some NBA DFS stuff before we get rolling today. So good luck, guys. Make sure you watch these videos, subscribe down below, follow us on Twitter, yada, yada, yada. Free cheat sheets on Thursdays in our Facebook group. The link is in the description. Good luck.